The most important parts of an album are the beginning and the end, so today I am going to list my top 15 album closers of all time. Let's go. Number 15, Conan with The Light. Throughout the last 20 years, the Conan trio has become one of the most respected groups in underground hip-hop, and a lot of thanks should be owed to A Piece of Strange, the album this song comes from. The Light is one of the most important songs conceptually, and it completes the project narrative. No, the producer for Conan was no stranger to creating lush beats for the group, and by using live instrumentation, he conducted one of the most gorgeous guitar-driven beats I've ever heard. I love Deacon the Villain singing with his family members in the bridge, and I love how that leads into Natty's swift and elegant verse. But I think my favorite thing about this song is how well it wraps up the entire story of A Piece of Strange. It's a truly incredible piece of work. Take a listen. Number 14, Hop Along, Prior Things. Lead vocalist Frances Quinlan usually has some pretty cryptic lyrics in her music, but with Prior Things she kinda eases it back. And I think that's a good thing because this is supposed to be the most relatable song on the album, which it is, just about leaving the past behind and trying to live in the present, but it also focuses on how hard that is. I feel like the use of strings as the main instrument in this song give it a more honest and down-to-earth approach. It makes it feel more relatable for some reason. But Frances Quinlan's vocals are really what make this song so good. The bridge is one of my favorite things about any song I've ever heard, and it's just really gorgeous. The crazy thing is, Prior Things isn't even the best song on this album. That's how good this band and album is, but here's a snippet of Prior Things. Number 13, Anderson .Paak, The Dreamer. Anderson .Paak hit his stride in 2016 with the release of Malibu. That's really when he became mainstream and started turning heads, and for good reason. Malibu finishes as beautifully as it started with The Dreamer. The inclusion of the choir makes it so much more soulful than it would have been without them. I love Talib Kweli on this song, but Anderson .Paak's hook is really what makes it so good. It's so catchy, you can really vibe to it, and it's perfect for a late night drive. It's also just really uplifting, and I love everything about it. Number 12, Death Grips, Hacker. Well, everybody always talks about how unique Death Grips is, nobody ever talks about how catchy they are. And I think MC Ride is underrated as a lyricist, but I also think he's just underrated as a vocalist. When you have hooks like Spikes, This, I've Seen Footage, System Blower, the list goes on and on. It just makes for some incredible music. And while his vocals are catchy, the beat on this is insane. The drum patterns, everything about it. If you've never heard Death Grips, get your ears ready. Here comes this snippet. Number 11, Teenage Fan Club, Is This Music? I'm gonna keep this one nice and simple. This is the best instrumental song I have ever heard in my life. I want it to be played at my funeral because it sounds like the ending of a movie soundtrack, and it would be perfect to wrap everything up. Number 10, Crying, The Curve. Crying is a band that created one of my most beloved albums, Beyond the Fleeting Gales. A power pop album with some of the happiest instrumentals I've ever heard, but very introspective lyrics coming from the lead vocalist, Eliza Santos. The Curve is about Eliza coming to terms with herself, and while that's a theme throughout the whole project, the Curve really makes it epic at the end. The use of 80s keyboard rhythms and power pop guitar rhythms in the song make it incredible, and I really don't see how anyone could dislike this song, even if you don't like the genre. Number 9, Third Eye Blind, God of Wine. I'm gonna make a controversial statement here and say that out of the popular alt-rock bands from the 90s, Third Eye Blind was definitely the best. A lot of their hits sound just as fun and poppy as most of the music at that time, but if you look at the lyrics on their self-titled project, it was a lot deeper than that. God of Wine is a heavy song. It uses drunkenness as a metaphor to talk about a relationship that's now lost, and it's just extremely mellow, especially the guitar solo after the first verse. It's one of those songs that just blew me away even the first time I heard it, and it's grown on me and become one of my favorite songs ever. Number 8, Tone Deaf, Control. Very rarely do I listen to songs over 9 minutes more than a few times, but Control is an exception. If you know Tone Deaf's story and how much he's been through throughout the past 15 years or so of creating Polymer, that makes this song 1,000 times better. It includes some of the most personal lyrics I've ever heard, talking about his divorce, where he was gonna go in life, just everything about his life in general. Him being a toxic person and trying to fix that, mental illness, a lot of stuff in that area. The amount of beat switches on this is incredible. I love the mix of dream pop and hip hop. And the last 2 minutes, the way all the instrumentation melds together really reminds me of a good shoegaze album, but a darker version of that, and it definitely deserves a spot on this list.
I just cannot decide if I'm the parasite of the host.
Number 7, Big Crit, Bury Me in Gold. With Big Crit being a Christian, it wasn't surprising that Forever Is a Mighty Long Time was going to have some gospel influence in it. And other than Keep the Devil Off, we didn't really get a big outburst of it until Bury Me in Gold. It is so soulful and includes the gospel genre perfectly. It's still a hip-hop song, and it's not trying to be anything it isn't. I love the message here, saying that you can bury him in gold, but it really doesn't matter. The gold's supposed to represent all the things he holds valuable. It's not a literal meaning, and I think that's a message a lot of people need to hear. The hook literally cleanses your soul. Number 6, Childish Gambino, Life the Biggest Troll. Because the internet was one of my favorite albums of the last decade, and Life the Biggest Troll pretty much solidified it, hearing all of Gambino's references to the internet and relating that to real life was insane to me with how well it worked. Plus the beat's really jumpy and fun too. I also like how it kind of wraps up the narrator's story in Because the Internet. The kid is no longer this rich, ignorant kid. He's a grown adult who knows he needs to get his life together now. And I like how there's like a third wall break in the song that talks to the listener. It's just an amazing track. Number 5, The Strokes, Ode to the Mets. Now this only came out a year ago, so that's why it's not like number 1 or anything, but I am gonna tell you there is a very good chance that in the future this will be my number 1 closer of all time. Nobody makes melancholy music better than Julian Casablancas, and with his band members behind him, he's even better at it. This song's all about the build-up. The intro is super weird, but it leads into a more traditional rock sound. And the vocal melody at the end of the song is one of the best pieces of art I've ever heard in my life. It's really hard to put into words how good this song is, how much this song means, and just difficult to explain the song in general, but if you haven't heard this, please go listen to it. It's incredible. Number 4, King Crimson, The Court of the Crimson King. I'm gonna be honest, I don't listen to that much progressive rock, but In the Court of the Crimson King is one of the best albums I've ever heard. And it's hard to explain this song without talking about the whole narrative of the album in general, so I'll just say the way it progresses, the vocal melodies, the harmonies, and just the instrumentation overall make this a fantastic closer and a fantastic song overall. Number 3, Neutral Milk Hotel, Two-Headed Boy Part 2. I said earlier that nobody does melancholy like Julian Casablancas, but Jeff Mangum is a close second. Two-Headed Boy Part 2 is a lot more emotional than its first part, and I think that has a lot to do with the fact that it's the last song, it's the closer, it's wrapping everything up about this extremely emotional story about Anne Frank. And if it's your first time listening to In the Aeroplane Over the Sea, and you get to this song, and you don't shed a tear, I'm surprised. So yeah, this song's basically number 3 because of how much emotion it invokes. Jeff Mangum made an absolutely amazing piece of art with this. Number 2, MGMT, Congratulations. Now when you think MGMT, you usually think something uplifting like Electric Feel or something from their new album like Me and Michael. But with Congratulations, it's actually extremely mellow. But I like the message of it, talking about how a normal person could do all these things, yet they still don't feel complete just because nobody's ever given them props or congratulated them. And I haven't really seen that concept done quite like this with any other song. And MGMT nailed it instrumentally, and when you put a great concept, great lyrics, and a great instrumental together, you get a top 2 closer of all time. And number 1, Elliott Smith, Say Yes. If you haven't heard this before, I want you to go listen to it. So I'm going to go give you a minute to do that. Go listen to it. Alright, you're back now. I want to ask you, how long do you think it took Elliott Smith to write that song? I'll give you like 3 seconds to answer. He wrote that song in 5 minutes. Now, I know the lyrics aren't like super deep, but they really pack a punch, and it's insane that he wrote this song in that amount of time. He was truly a genius, and it's a shame that he died so early. Literally every person on the planet can relate to Say Yes in some way, shape, or form. I might be going too far when I say this, but I think it's the most beautiful song I've ever heard. And that's not because it's like blazing with crazy instrumentals or anything like that. I think it's just because it's the most honest song I've ever heard. And that's where true beauty comes out in music. And Elliott had a lot of it in his other songs too, so go check out more of his stuff if you like this. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like or subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it because these videos take a long time to make. There's probably going to be more music commentary videos for me in the future, so I will catch you and see you then. Later.